And that came to I think where the real falling out happened was when I stopped Theo de Jager from being appointed to the board of the Land Bank. It came to cabinet, and I would have been failing in my duty as a minister had I not pointed out something which had not been disclosed in the process, that this was an individual who had 2 convictions for fraud, not allegations, 2 convictions for fraud. And I don't care whether it's an ANC, Freedom Front, DA, IFP, EFF person, I don't believe it is right to sit on the board of a bank, particularly an important board like the Land Bank, having been convicted of fraud. And I think it would have sent a terrible message out. And I think when that got back to Theo de Jager, that's when the real nastiness and the spite set in. But I really had no choice. Had I not raised it at cabinet, and it came out later, I would have been the one having to answer to people saying, but if you knew about this and didn't raise it, are you not guilty yourself of complicitness in this particular situation? And so I had to raise it. And I'm sorry if that upset Theo, but I just simply could not, in good conscience, sit and watch somebody be put on a board that had 2 convictions for fraud. And as I said, it didn't matter to me if they were ANC, Freedom Front, I would have done exactly the same thing.
And he's one of the largest celebrators of your removal from the
Of course. I mean, of course, they're greatly celebrating it. And I mean, that should be a worry, because does this mean when the next Minister of Agriculture doesn't do their bidding, are they going to go for their head as well? And it will inevitably happen, because their business model is built on grievance and anger and opposition. That's their fundraising model. They have to present a crisis. They have to present themselves as the only saviors, and then they have to go after somebody to make them the bad person so that they look like the good person. And that's what the model's built on. That's how they receive their funding. That's how they make their living. It's all based on that. So you're never going to get them working closely with government. And so the next minister and the minister after them is going to end up in exactly the same position ultimately, because you have to make tough decisions sometimes. And you're going to make decisions that perhaps they don't agree with. And are we then going to see a similar campaign being launched against the next minister? And I think that for me is the broader worry. And I think that this particular situation has only emboldened it now, and I think it's going to give them even greater confidence that they can now, they've got this huge influence that they wield, ostensibly on behalf of the agricultural community, when in fact the majority of the agriculture community have a completely different view to the way things were. And let me just be clear, I'm not perfect. I made mistakes, and I've been very honest that perhaps there are things that could have been done better. But goodness me, you're trying, as I said at NAMPO, you're trying to fix the aeroplane with duct tape in mid-air. You're in the midst of a crisis. You're changing the policy 180 degrees. Of course, things are going to go wrong. Of course, not everything's going to go perfectly. But goodness me, to then throw that person out to the wolves because of this unhappiness, I think it really was a bridge too far.